Today's framework of cooperation to pursue advantages is our doing under the Pacific Plan's regard for our ocean, but the ideals are clearly designed for the benefit of those to come. The sound management of our ocean's resources is also the driving force for our ongoing priority to investigate seabed mining in the Cook Islands, a new frontier that must blend caution with optimism while mapping a way forward. While the Cook Islands is somewhat of an old hand at talking about seabed minerals, it still remains true that deep-sea mining is a new territory yet to explore. Optimism generated by the possibility of riches at the bottom of the sea must therefore be tempered with the reality of global trends and technological advancements as much as our capability in sustainable management. Where the Pacific can claim an increasingly more positive outlook is the promise of new levels of cooperation in sharing experiences and information. With our nations integrated in close consultation, we can build a seabed mining knowledge base by drawing on the invaluable help of partnerships with entities such as the SOPAC division of the Secretariat of the Pacific Community. The Cook Islands is a willing player in this regard and is prepared to advance the pace on sharing our information on what will become a crucial industry in the future. A quickening of pace has already characterized our cooperative, integrated approach to regional fisheries, the traditional centerpiece of the Pacific's oceanscape. The fisheries resources, crucial to our livelihoods and sustained economic strengthening, has commanded the majority share of priority attention in policy and planning, as well as direct negotiations within and outside of our region. It's fair to say that our stewardship of the ocean is dominated by a sector that cuts across all four pillars of the Pacific Plan. Fisheries is inextricably tied to considerations of economic growth, sustainable development, good governance, and security. In a series of firsts at this year's Forum Leaders meeting in Rarotonga, our fisheries management was given added security with the simultaneous signing of 8 maritime boundary treaties, an accomplishment unequaled anywhere in the world. This modest ceremony was a significant card of achievement for the region, harnessing multi-agency cooperation led by the Foreign Fisheries Agency and the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, bringing together several countries in a multi-layered joint effort for fisheries governance and strengthening the Pacific's resource management priorities for the future. The purposeful dedication to preserve and manage our fisheries is a firm indicator of the potential of Pacific regionalism to rise above the constraints and stay optimistic about our future. Our brand of regionalism also demonstrated a heightened awareness of each other's peculiar challenges and advantages during the forum in Rarotonga. At the outset of the forum proper, for example, the fledgling Polynesian Leaders Group, which embraces 5 full members of the forum, led a discussion on energy and the progress of adopting and utilizing alternative sources to fuel our future development. Samoa and the Kingdom of Tonga are among the leading nations in the Pacific in this regard, securing higher levels of integration by boosting the share of renewable energy generation and applying working models for the region to investigate and perhaps to adapt to their own power environments. the Polynesian leaders resolved to launch a new effort of sharing the knowledge on energy developments, particularly given the varying speed levels of advancement among the Forum member countries. We'd like to bring up the pace by learning as much as we can feasibly achieve, and in the process, share the interest of how renewable energy can transform our power systems and thus our respective national economies. Enhancing the region with clean, green energy systems is a goal we can achieve and promote more broadly. Individually, Pacific nations have taken bold steps. Yes, our renewable energy targets are ambitious, and no, our pockets are not deep. But by recognizing the extent to which we can close the gaps in the renewable energy knowledge base, a broader concerted approach to exchanging information and study data will capitalize on the real achievements thus far, lift the momentum for change, and inject an added level of optimism about the future security of our energy needs. Individual gains can translate into joint benefits under a fresh approach, and demonstrating that to the outside world can, in my view, attract the investment that we need to implement our renewable energy targets. I believe our progressive steps in oceans management and alternative energy development help generate a renewed sense of optimism that will propel us well into the next 40 years. Thinking about the Forum's founding leaders and their own outlook back in 1971, I am reminded of the way my elders in Aitutaki were concerned about the future of their livelihoods back then. At that time, well before the doors opened to tourism, grassroots concerns over the future sustainability of our valuable banana exports helped shape the Prime Minister's thinking and approach to Pacific regionalism and the burgeoning Pacific way of taking on challenges and talking them through with each other with a common purpose. Today, linkages between the grassroots reality and regional objectives need to be clearly articulated and appreciated. Alignments must lead to improved levels of integration in the way we approach the setting of priorities.
At their meeting in 2012, Forum leaders endorsed the comprehensive review of the Pacific Plan in 2013.
For our Pacific Plan to be dynamic, it should provide us the guidance with which to tackle our problems. It should remain relevant to the changing nature of the region and the influences and challenges it faces now and into the future. And as much as possible, the will and support of leaders can and should strengthen ownership of the Pacific Plan. The forthcoming review ought to strengthen our capability of responding to the demands placed upon it. After all, we need a dependable way of keeping our finger on the pulse of this living framework so that it remains responsive to our needs and keeps that sense of optimism alive at all times. I believe the strengthening of our own resolve to do better under our Pacific Plan, to attain new heights of prosperity, to sustain peace in our region, we will always be blessed by the presence of the guiding hand of God. On that note, I wish the Pacific all the best for the future. Thank you.